Title of this book, Loving Jesus. Mary and Martha. In the 10th chapter of Luke, Jesus pays a visit to the home of two sisters named Mary and Martha. The first sits at his feet and listens to his words. She becomes a paragon for the believer who practice what we have just been discussing, or in need for any spiritual person who seeks intimacy with God. Her sister Martha is too busy for such pursuits and tells Jesus that Mary should be helping her with all the work that need to be done. Jesus replies, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There are need there is a need of only one thing. Mary has chosen to be better part, which will not be taken away from her. Luke 10:41. The point of the story is not to pit pities against activities, or to imply that one personality type is preferable to another. The point is simple: discerning the time. This is a time to be busy and time to be still. Mary knew what time it was. Martha did not. Luke wrote this story for people only a generation or so removed. From the time of Jesus' ministry, his readers knew people who had known Jesus. Compare Luke 1:2. How wonderful they could only imagine to have actually have been there, to have met Jesus and heard him in person. Jesus is a story of two fortunes. Women who had that opportunity to spend an entire day with the Lord. Years later in age, Mary was were eternally to spend an entire day with the Lord. Years later in age, Mary would still be able to recall sitting at his feet, listening to his stories and his sight. But when people asked her sister what was it like, Martha will only be able to respond, I don't know. I had a lot to do that day. How could anyone be too busy to spend time with Jesus when he was right there with them and in topic? What could have been that important? The moral of the story is very obvious. I remember a retired chaplain telling me that we had been over 1,000 deathbeds, confessions such as words of confidential. He said, but would allow this much I never heard. Anyone says, I wish I spent more time at the office, a chilling observation that we might all take to heart. But right now, I want us to consider the lessons of Mary and Martha. The story will reference to matter depresses all those who seek closeness, closeness with God. The detriment of or its continuing be, between private spiritually and service to society, between faith works and between loving God and loving God's world. There are those who wish to drive a wedge between the two. I was raised in demonstration to emphasize social actions and was warned from the childhood against those who are too heavenly minded, to be an earthly good and don't actually get busy doing what we need to be done to make the world a better place. Now that I am a quiet bit older, I have come to recognize that there is also a ditch on the other side of the road. Let us grant the existence of pure installation, trench reserved for those who construct religion as a private matter and seek to develop some sort of high individual spirituality. That is no way compels them to care for others. Personally, I think the number of persons who actually fall into a such trap has been aggravated. Most of the people I know who goes to church on Sundays mornings who who reads the Bibles or attend the private prayers even night do these things instead of volunteering in soup kitchen or campaigning for political candidates. In any other cases, I must direct your attention to the other side of the road. To trench to just teeming with persons who wants to live out their faith by pursuing various worthwhile agendas while neglecting the nature of their own souls. We want to be service to our world. We want to be useful, helpful, and good people who makes the world a better place. But then we must ultimately ask, what do we have to offer? I once heard Corey Ten Boom tells of an encounter she had with a frustrated minister who said that he felt he had given all for God, but still did not feel he had accomplished much in his ministry. He humbles observation, perhaps ministry depends not just on what we give for God, but also what we receive from God. Likewise, I asked my seminary students, but many of them prepared to devote their lives to serving the Lord. Every hand goes out. Then I read them Mark 10:45, when Jesus says, "The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve." Jesus says he doesn't want you to serve him. I declare, he says that he wants to serve you. I'm messing with the minds, of course. There are plenty of Bible verses that do not exhort us to serve the Lord. For example, Matthew 4:10 and 6:24. But seminaries are often more keen on serving than on being served. So are pastors, so are many of us. Peter would have gladly washed the feet of Jesus, but he didn't want to let us wash his feet. He didn't want to let Jesus wash his feet. John 13:6-8.